name's Celeste Grano. I represent 1CO2 on the western side of Adams Morgan between Connecticut and Calvert.
Good evening, Peter Wood, 1C03, 18th to 19th, Biltmore to Wyoming. Good evening.
Hi, Megan Faulkner, 1C04, northwest corner of Adams Morgan, surrounding Walter Pierce Park.
I am Zach Gold, Commissioner for 1C05, the northeast corner of the ANC, bordering 16th Street and Hartford Street.
Benjamin Boots, 1C06. I'm 16th Street down to Colorama, and kind of snake through up 17th and Euclid up to Lanier, and then kind of back around to Columbia.
Good evening. My name is Shaper Bowles. I'm Commissioner for 1C07. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I represent the western side of the Reed Cook neighborhood, or the east side of 18th Street. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Fiona Clem. I represent 1C08. That is the southeast corner of Adams Morgan.
Great. Thank you, commissioners. For the chair's report, I just have a couple of things I'd like to talk about. First is that beginning on Monday, April 19th, all DC residents age 16 and older will be eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. So if you haven't already, please pre-register at vaccinate.dc.gov. You can also pre-register by calling 1-855-363-0333. Call centers open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 7, and Saturdays and Sundays, 8 a.m. to 4:30. Also, we have had a lot of grant applications come through recently, which is a great thing. And I also happened to come across an email from our Congresswoman's office, Eleanor Holmes Norton, announcing that the deadline to submit an application to her office for community project funding is coming up next week. So if you're a nonprofit that does work in our community, please feel free to go to appropriations.house.gov/appropriations-requests. I'll put all this in the chat, but an application would consist of explanation of the request, kind of similar to what has been done for ANC grants. So any nonprofit that has applied for an ANC grant should also consider this. Yeah, so those are the couple of announcements I have. Moving on to the Secretary's report.
I don't have any updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Clem. Treasurer Faulkner.
Yes, the current balance of the ANC bank account is $21,091.25. Next month, we will have a quarterly financial report to review, so get ready for that. And just one update since our last meeting is that our security fund, all the paperwork and everything for participating in the ANC security fund has been accepted. So just so everyone knows that. And that's it for me.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Let's move on to commissioner announcements, including committee meeting agendas if you chair a committee. Let's start with 1C08. Commissioner Clem.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have any big announcements for this month, but there is, I'm obsessed with Brood 10, and Brood 10 is coming in late April. So the cicadas are coming. So just as a community service announcement, if you are planning on planting any trees, you should bag them because the cicadas will eat them if you are doing any landscaping. That's my big announcement for the month. I'm obsessed with the cicadas.
Thank you, Commissioner Clem. Commissioner Bowles.
Thank you, Chair. So for the ABC and Public Safety Committee meeting next week, we will, I have to send a report out to the rest of the committee, but I would like to put forth a settlement agreement for air. And then I would also like to open a committee, or not a committee, a community hearing session update. Essentially, right now there is a license renewal for our liquor stores. The renewal process, at least historically for our ANC, has been different than a new liquor license or a transfer of a liquor license. So typically these go relatively quick and easy, unless there has been, some event of notoriety. So what has been a custom or what we would like to do is allow the community and the committee and the commissioners to voice any opposition or anything for the liquor stores. Sorry, y'all, it's been a week. For the liquor stores, and it's likely not that no one will say anything. If someone does say something, then the committee is dedicated to doing a fact-finding mission and seeing if we need to protest further or reach out to ABRA or reach out to the liquor store and take those complaints seriously. So we have the two things I'll submit in writing to Fiona. That way our update, people have things to click on and know exactly which know exactly which liquor stores are up for renewal. And in terms of personal, don't really have anything. Councilmember Brianna Doe is on the line. I'm sure she will talk about the budget, but the budget has been postponed by one more month. So that means that the mayor will make hers public, and then the council will have a bite at that. We haven't done this in the past, but I would love for this ANC to possibly look at passing a resolution in favor of some of these budget requests that our coalition members all across and advocacy all across the city have been requesting for. I know there's one, I'm personally a part of the Way Home campaign, and that's $100 million to end chronic homelessness, but there's numerous other things too. So I will likely be putting forth a budget resolution next month, so we can continue to advocate for those things at all levels. So thanks.
Thanks, Commissioner Bowles. And so the ABC agenda for the month will include a settlement agreement for air, and along with, you mentioned some placards, whatever establishments have been placarded. Okay, great.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. And the police report.
As always.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. All right, Commissioner Gold.
I think it's Commissioner Boots.
Oh, Commissioner Boots, sorry.
Just skipping right over me. No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Two just little quick announcements. The first one regarding COVID vaccines. There's a bunch of information about COVID vaccines being available at our Harris Teeter. That is not accurate. Right now, they're not providing the COVID vaccine there. And once again, just to reiterate, make sure to sign up and go through the DC process if you're still looking for a vaccine. And the second thing is just a note that people may have seen that new lights for pedestrian crossing on 16th, going from the end of Kalorama into the park across from 16th are installed. They're not working yet, but it's a great addition to just pedestrian safety and kind of a place where it has always seemed a little dangerous crossing. So good to see.
Yeah, great to see that. Yeah, that's been a long time in the making. Thanks, Commissioner Boots. Commissioner Gold.
Thank you, Chair. On the COVID vaccine front, while Harris Teeter does not have the vaccine, there are currently no appointments, but the Kalorama Pharmacy is carrying vaccine So be sure to check in with the Colorado pharmacy if you can't travel far. If you can travel far and have the time, Maryland, starting this week or next week, is vaccinating DC residents with 16 plus with no requirements. So you can look into the Maryland vaccine site and register there, get yourself on a list. Some sites that are further away have more availability than others, but it's something to think about. Let's all get vaccinated. Tomorrow, apparently it's Congresswoman Norton Day at the ANC. Tomorrow at 6 p.m., Congresswoman Norton is hosting a conversation on improving surface transportation in the district. This will be an opportunity to share your ideas about buses, metro, bikes, trains, scooters, and pedestrian safety in the district. To attend, please email nortonevents@mail.house.gov to receive a Zoom link. I'm putting that information into the chat. Just some updates on around the SMD. Actually, across the street from my SMD, today there was a BZA hearing for a requested public cafe at the Silva, the new apartment building going up at 1630 Columbia Road. Residents may recall that the previous ANC approved this plan, and I'd like to thank one of my constituents for bringing to the attention of this ANC that the Office of Planning had requested a condition that would have severely limited public access. Such a condition is not in line with the ANC's vote of support. I'm grateful to Chair Irani for sending a letter to the BZA voicing opposition to the OP's proposed conditions, and to Commissioner Boots for testifying in person today. In addition, my neighbors living across the street from this establishment have expressed demand for access to the proposed cafe, and I submitted a written testimony to that effect. The Planning, Zoning, and Transportation Committee last month had a very interesting discussion on proposed amendments to the future land use map in ANC 1C. Since Councilmember Nadeau is joining us tonight, I will commend her staff's willingness to hear and respond to a number of comments from commissioners and neighbors. We also had a discussion about tree plantings at the northeast intersection of Columbia Road and 18th, a matter which the ANC will vote on tonight. The next PZT committee will take place virtually April 21st at 7 p.m. We'll talk a bit about street art and traffic safety assessments for some parts of Columbia Road and parallel streets. Please check our website for how to access the meeting and for updates to the agenda. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for that thorough update, Commissioner Gold. Commissioner Faulkner, Treasurer Faulkner.
Yes, thanks. Just one update about the single member district, which is that the dog park in Walter Pierce Park has been resurfaced with new gravel as of about a week and a half ago. It's been a long time coming. I believe former Commissioner Zatoli and the dog park folks started requesting that about a year ago. And thank you also to Councilmember Nadeau's office as well in helping us get that done. So just if you haven't been by there and you have a dog, there is now new gravel. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Treasurer Faulkner. Commissioner Wood.
So I don't want to draw too much of a correlation, but maybe that explains why all the dogs have been so happy lately in the neighborhood. So a few things, actually a lot. It's been a very busy month. It's been enjoyable. I mean, a lot of people came out to clean last, well, I guess it's 2 weeks ago or something like that. It was great. A lot of other things busy. Got a lot of support for a lot of, I spent a lot of letters and things like that. Very happy to see that. I admit I was a bit disappointed at some of the revelations from the past month, but that's another discussion. So the coming month, Colorado Park, we've been very fortunate that the Daughters of the American Revolution chapter is donating a flag. Some people have noticed that the flag in Colorado Park has been basically ripped to shreds by a branch. So the branch I'm working on, but the flag is getting donated and there's gonna be a ceremony April 18th, 11 in the morning. Wear a mask if you're interested in coming. I know we have some veterans that are interested, so stay spaced out. It'll be nice. We have, I think someone from the Friends of Colorado Park and also some from the Daughters of American Revolution. They're gonna be coming out for that. Very, very fresh. It's like still a work in progress, but I'm working potentially with some other local organizers and hopefully commissioners. I haven't literally told a single person because I just got off this conversation. but for Earth Day, trying to get something together to try to kind of, ideally cross ANCs, like I said, is kind of a work in progress, but stay alert for that if you're interested in taking care of your planet and neighborhood. And then also we've kind of had some discussions, and I've gotten some outreach already from people interested in maybe revisiting the idea of a Barnes dance at 18th and Columbia, just kind of tossing out there that I know that people are discussing that. So feel free, if you have opinions, especially if you're in favor, come to me. If you're in my district, some people already have done that. Not saying that we have no idea where that will go. It's been tried before, but just I've had enough constituents coming to me that I want to make sure that all of their kind of desires are out on the table as well. I think that's it. Thanks.
All right, great. Commissioner Carano.
Just very brief, I suppose the committee agenda for next month will probably include adjustments to the grants policy and application, so we can review what that will look like as we get the final updated application document from OANC. And I'm sure there'll be some other things on the agenda between now and then as well. For my SMD, I'll just add that if you're not currently receiving my newsletter and you'd like to, just let me know.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Carano. And let's move on to, we have our Councilwoman, Brianna Nadeau, on the line. And she will be giving an update from DC Council.
Thank you so much. I'm just gonna
have you, council member.
So happy to be here. Can you hear me okay?
We sure can. Great.
I'm glad I was here to listen to all the commissioner updates. Thanks for all the work that you are all doing across the ANC. As a former 1B commissioner, I know that it's not easy, and I appreciate you. So thank you for your partnership. It's a smaller crowd tonight. I think that folks who are participating have largely met me before, but just in case, I'm Brianna Nadeau. I'm the Ward 1 council member. I've been in the seat since 2015, and I'm currently chair of the Committee on Human Services. And this is my update from the council. So we have just wrapped up our performance oversight hearings, which is, you've probably heard me say before, that's like the time where all the nerds get excited because you can sit in hearings and listen to all the updates from every government agency and all the feedback from the public. It's a great time to bring feedback, and positive or negative, because it gets the council members really thinking about what we need to be doing during budget season. Usually there's not such a large gap between performance oversight hearings and the budget process, but this year, as was mentioned earlier, the budget has been delayed till May because the guidance on the $2.3 billion we're getting from the federal government is not going to be available till May 10th. So we're happy about the money and not thrilled about the delay, but being delayed and getting $2.3 billion is better than not getting $2.3 billion. So we're going to take it and incorporate it into the budget, and then public will have an opportunity to testify on how that's been done. We don't have the schedule yet. We just found out Monday. And so we're now scrambling to get all the hearings rescheduled to make sure all the agency directors are available for their testimony. You can imagine we heard a lot about the public health emergency and oversight this year. Department of Human Services that I oversee has been managing a lot of the response, including setting up hotels for individuals experiencing homelessness who are at risk, high risk of COVID. They are expanding. They've been running 3 hotels for that, in addition to hotels for people who have COVID and need to be isolated and quarantined. They are opening 1 more hotel now for people experiencing homelessness who are high risk of COVID, but they are also vaccinating everybody who wants to be vaccinated that's experiencing homelessness in shelters, in the hotels, and out on the street. We are trying to keep our homeless residents safe. For the budget, I sent my requests over to the mayor February 17th and made some specific requests that I didn't think other members were going to be making, mostly related to human services and housing. But that letter is out in public. So if anyone wants a copy of it, let me know. I just noticed it's not posted on our website. We tweeted it, I think, and didn't post it yet. So we're going to post it for you. So it's there. I see Kristen asked, will there be a public process to help decide on how to spend the 2.3 billion? That's our budget process. So it will be incorporated into the budget. It's not like it's just, it'll be like woven in as blended funding for all of the things that we're doing in each committee. So before the budget was moved to May, we were going to have a standalone hearing on the federal funds. So I don't know if we'll be able to do that now with a condensed schedule, but if so, you'll know when I know. Let's see. The federal stimulus funds are going to allow us to fulfill many urgent needs, but they're not going to be available in perpetuity. It's called one-time money. We call it one-time money. So they're not going to meet all of our recurring needs, and we still have a lot of them. And you've probably heard me talk before about raising revenue in order to meet some of those needs. Council members Allen and Louis George and I are working together to draft a budget proposal that would raise taxes on our wealthiest residents in order to sustain some of our most important programming. So that is to come. You will see. We need to see where the funding is placed before we decide what needs to be increased. Gordon asked, are you planning on spending this money out into the full 4-year budget window and then refill the reserves? The money has to be spent by 2024. So we'll see where the mayor wants to spend it. The council doesn't get to plan to spend it anywhere. We just get to move it around after the mayor decides where to put it. So that's part of the process the public is most involved in, and we welcome it. I know that health is at the top of people's minds right now. I appreciate the announcements at the top from the commissioners about access to vaccines. Many of you know, hopefully, that my office has been working, and some commissioners have joined us in helping register seniors and others who don't have access to the internet. We got over 150 seniors appointments before the pre-registration system launched. So that was 10 of us every once a week on there playing Black Friday games right there on our screens, trying to get appointments. But, you know, council members advocated for the current registration system. I think after a very bumpy start, we now have a much better system. And, you know, I had been pushing, and I'm really glad that we were able to get this to a much better place for folks. I know it's been really stressful. I thank those of you who've been patiently waiting for your vaccine. And I also thank those of you who've taken your shot when it's been available to you. Last week, my office organized a vaccine clinic for seniors and those with high-risk conditions we administered in Columbia Heights. We were able to vaccinate 115 people who were eligible, and we were targeting low-income housing. And really excited that we were able to do that. So we're working on putting together hopefully a couple more clinics for really hard to reach populations that may be reluctant to get the vaccine. And we think that's really important in Ward 1. Some of the populations that have been more reluctant do live in areas of Ward 1 that are hotspots. And so this is going to continue to be a real focus of mine. Just a little bit more info on what's going on with the vaccine. I know folks read NPR and they read the New York Times and they look at the national CDC tracker. And if you were looking at those data sources, you would think that we are behind in distributing the vaccine that we've received. Unfortunately, the CDC refuses to separate out our local allocation that we have control over and federal pods that are managed by, say, the Department of Defense, which move out the door much more slowly. And also the vaccines that are allocated to DC through the federal vaccine program that the pharmacies run that we also don't control. So we have the vaccine that we control, and these would be vaccines that you say register through the portal or through your doctor. We are now at an 89.3% distribution rate, which we should be very proud of. What that means is the vaccine we're getting in arms, and that people are taking them. I am aware of jurisdictions around the country that have more vaccine than demand. And that might seem nice if you're someone waiting for a vaccine because you can get in there. But in the long run, it's better for us that demand is higher than supply, because that means that people in this jurisdiction want the vaccine, and that means more people will be safe. So We're continuing to fight for more supply. We have worked with FEMA on a number of occasions to try to stand up more clinics, to get more doses, to get them to say vaccinate the federal workforce for us. Deny, deny, deny. It was a late breaking thing that FEMA is now allowing DC residents to join the clinic in Greenbelt. So we're happy about that. And a lot of us were pushing on that too. So we're glad that some people are going to be able to be vaccinated that way. And we are going to, well, the federal government is actually aggressively increasing direct vaccine allocations to pharmacies and community health centers. So that's going to be really helpful to us. They're still not giving us as much as other comparable places. So we're going to continue to agitate around that. And I know our Congresswoman does too. It sounds like you got a lot of FaceTime with her coming up. So feel free to mention to her that you're grateful to her for fighting for more vaccine for us as well. And of course, as was mentioned earlier, everybody will be eligible starting April 19th, which is another reason that we really need more vaccine. But some of the thinking behind moving that start date up is that aligns us better with the other jurisdictions, which means for people who were maybe coming to get their work in DC and we're going to get their vaccine here, they might be more inclined to just do it at home, which takes some pressure off of our vaccine system. So I think all in all, this is a good decision and people will be pleased to be eligible and we will get more shots in arms as we keep going. So I'm going to keep focusing on housing our homeless residents. It continues to be a big priority for me as Human Services Chair. Last budget cycle, I introduced a budget amendment that generated millions of dollars to add hundreds of units. And also I added millions of dollars to our emergency rental assistance program. I now have joint oversight of the DC Housing Authority programs that are in partnership with Department of Human Services. So that's all our voucher, all our homeless voucher programs, permanent supportive housing, targeted affordable housing, rapid rehousing. So that has actually jump-started Housing Authority a little bit when there were major backlogs. We were hearing that even though we put the funding in the budget, people were still homeless because it was taking the Housing Authority too long to house them. It is incredibly stupid that the reason someone is homeless is because of administrative holdups when the money is there. So we are fixing that and my oversight is helping. I'm really excited about it. It's really lit a fire. We're hearing from all of our outreach workers that people are getting housed more quickly since we flipped to the oversight model. So I'm psyched about that. And I know a lot of you care about it. There's also, in addition to all the discussion about when schools will reopen, which I don't have an update on, we actually had a hearing last week about school budgets. And 36 schools across the district are having budget cuts right now, which is completely unacceptable. There's way too much pressure being put on all of the schools right now to serve our students well as they return from a really traumatic experience, and budget cuts are just not okay. So I was at that hearing trying to hold the chancellor accountable. And frankly, I mean, what I said to him was, what is the point of having mayoral control over our school system if you can't put the money where it's needed? So I'm really hoping that by the time we get our budget in May, those things are corrected, because we made it pretty clear, those of us at the hearing, that we can't cut 36 schools in the middle of a pandemic, not when kids have so many more needs than they've ever had. So I'm going to keep fighting on that. It directly impacts 4 Ward 1 schools, including both Columbia Heights Education Campus and Cardozo, which expect to welcome unaccompanied minors at increasing rates as well. So we really have to get this right. And then MPD oversight is ongoing. We've got some new programs, Building Blocks DC, which is targeting high crime blocks, literally city blocks, and bringing wraparound services, like an interagency response to those areas. They're starting in Ward 8. But we do expect some of the areas of Ward 1 will be included in the future. And so we're continuing to communicate on that. Chief Conti and I are in conversation about how we continue to take things off MPD's plate that really could be more of a human services response that don't require a law enforcement response. And that's something council's been taking very seriously and working on and sort of chipping away at, but it involves major investments in other parts of our infrastructure, like behavioral health, like human services. So we're going to keep at that. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's really important to ensuring that we're serving people the way they need to be served and not just the way they always have been served. So it's huge for me. I want to wrap up with just some very specific updates about Adams Morgan. I promise I'm almost done. SunTrust Plaza, we're having some trouble with Truist Bank with preserving the existing uses. You've probably heard. I tried to convince them to keep the farmers market open and to stop bothering the homeless residents who are there, and didn't really succeed at preserving both. They're maintaining essentially that it's a liability for them to have so many uses there during COVID, in addition to some of the protests that have been going on. So, you know, they don't have to do what I asked them to do. We got them to hold off on removing the encampment, which is the way we refer to a group of tents housing homeless people, while we work with those residents to ensure they have the support and services they need, and we try to get them into shelter or housing. And the farmers market, we are working to get permitted at Unity Park, which was their first choice. And I know commissioners, you've been very supportive of that, so thank you. One thing that would love to come back to talk to you about at some point, maybe not as a group, maybe just with the SMDs, is there used to be a really special market there with street vendors. And it might be nice to bring some of them back on Saturdays with the farmers market. Haven't talked to the farmers market about it, but I do think that might be nice, given that it's a smaller farmers market, that there'd probably still be room for that. So maybe it's something we can do on a pilot basis, but it does require more conversation with the community. And let's see, yes, the gravel, yay for gravel in the dog park. And I know that at Calorama Park, there's been a lot of extra strain put on it during COVID, especially trash disposal. So we're going to keep working with Parks and Rec and Department of General Services and Public Works to make sure that the trash issues are addressed. So thank you for bearing with us there. I know there's a number of participants tonight who've been working on the pedestrian zone for 18th Street. My team's still continuing to work with the ANC, with businesses and the different DC agencies to refine the plan to continue the pedestrian zone on 18th Street on weekends. I really do think this is going to be critically important to the business's recovery. And there's a really still a lot of excitement about it. And even new voices have come out and said, hey, can we bring some stuff back to Adams Morgan? So we're continuing those conversations. And I do think between that and the forthcoming design work for Columbia Road, that we have an excellent opportunity to expand public access expand access to public space and to create safer streets for everyone in the majority, in the major areas of 1C. So let's see, we have a telephone town hall coming up, and the date is not in my notes, but I think we can put it in the chat. It's this month, but we're going to blast it out to our list and put it on social. And then, you know, as we're emerging from COVID and more people are vaccinated, we're going to start doing more stuff together in person. So we will follow the health guidance on what's safe and when to do it. But I'm looking forward to it because I miss being in person with all of you. So let's see. That's all from me. If you want, I can scan the chat really quick and answer any questions there, or you can tell me that I can deal with those offline.
There's just a couple, something Kristen had dropped in about the soda, the sugary beverage tax legislation. If you have seconds to go over that.
Yeah, I do. So the Nutrition Equity Amendment Act is really exciting. There There's a coalition of folks working on health equity. A lot of them are east of the river, but we do have some of the leaders in Ward 1 as well. And we did a special working group back in December to see where programs needed to be funded. So this goes, all the funds that we raised from this excise tax on sugary beverages go to health programs. So things like Produce RX, where your doctor can give you a prescription to go buy fruits and vegetables, and they get them for free with the prescription. Healthy Corners programs, where we add healthy food to corner stores. There's grants for other food programs. There's a whole list of them. And Allie, I'm going to ask if you can put the press release to the bill, which is on our homepage, in the chat so people can look through it. Right now, there is a sales tax on sugary beverages, and most people don't even realize they're paying it. And we would repeal that and replace it with an excise tax. And what would happen would be that when people are making a choice about what kind of beverage to buy, they would see the sugary one is more expensive than the non-sugary one. So it's really about consumer behavior. And we will, there's a portion also of the bill, because this is all about all kinds of nutrition programs, that focuses on healthy food in shelters. And that piece of it's referred to my committee. So we're going to have a hearing on it soon. We haven't scheduled it yet. We just got the referral, but now that we don't have the budget till May, we have time to schedule it. So we're going to see first if council members McDuffie and Chairman Mendelson will hear the bill jointly with us, so we can do it all at once, because it's referred in sections to different parts of the council, which is always a fun time. But I'm excited about it. So please read through and, let me know if you have questions, but it'll take a little while to be implemented. And, I don't see it being implemented until we're already well into recovery at this point, because it takes a few years. Kristen asked, the businesses pay for the consumers. So the way an excise tax works, the way this would work is that the sugary substance that is purchased is taxed at the distribution site, or like where you're buying it from your distributor. So like, say you have a soda machine and you put the syrup in, where you buy the syrup would be where the tax is. And generally speaking, I mean, a proprietor could decide not to do this, but generally speaking, it gets passed on to the customer through an increased price. And that's where you see the change in behavior. So, I suppose there's other ways people can deal with excise taxes, but generally when this has been implemented, the way it's done is it's passed to the consumer. So then the consumer sees the price difference, which changes their behavior. So there's a lot of data on this because it's been implemented in other places now. We'll get into all of that in the hearing, but folks are always welcome to email me, and we can have a healthy debate in my inbox as well. And I'm going to put my email in here. And KJ says, thank you for introducing the Harmonious Living Amendment Act. Great leadership working to build a bridge between differing opinions. Thank you. I guess that means I should talk about that really quickly if the commissioners will allow it.
Please do.
Okay. And Allie, can you do the same thing and grab that press release for everybody? So Harmonious Living is meant to help preserve existing uses like street performance and venues, while also making sure that residents know what they're getting into, essentially, and trying to find that balance. But also, and this is a big piece of it, for new construction requires better soundproofing, so that, whatever the newest thing is in the neighborhood, it's conforming to the existing use. We don't want a building going up on 18th Street that doesn't take into consideration the fact that 18th Street is a very vibrant corridor, because, the people moving in there are going to be our constituents, and we don't want them to have a difficult time living in a place that we all love. And there are ways to build better. And our code right now doesn't require soundproofing. So we need to fix that. But the idea behind it is really that we can balance out all these different community needs if we build right, if we make sure people are informed about where they're moving by putting languages in lease agreements or sale agreements, and that we also identify the areas that we want to protect. So we have a lot of them in Ward 1, and I'm excited to hopefully get a hearing in the committee of the whole on this bill too, because it's an issue that keeps coming up for sure in Ward 1, but will continue to come up in other parts of the city as we grow there too. So thank you for that.
Commissioner Pools, I think he's got a question. He's got his hand up. Go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Councilmember Nadeau, for joining us today. I would be remiss if I did not bring up how terrible DOES has been recently. With the updates. Obviously, like, I represent 18th Street, and we just have a ton of residents that are having issues. And I feel like every Monday morning, you see on Twitter or Facebook, and it's just like, I wasn't able to sign up. The website was down. And then from what I hear, there's the federal implementation of the bill has caused further delays. And some people, it's okay, but like, others, it's not. That's their tax dollars. It's their right to have that money. And, there's 3 weeks, 4 weeks, now 5 weeks for some people that I know. And I don't know what to tell them. And it shouldn't be Alyssa Silverman's job. Poor Alyssa Silverman, Councilmember Silverman, who's responding on all of these social media. And it's heartbreaking. Yeah. I don't know what to tell people anymore.
So I'm totally with you. And I very much appreciate the way that my colleague, Councilmember Alyssa Silverman, who's the chair of the Labor Committee, has really led on this, in the same way that I do in my cluster. And it's great to have a colleague who is so on it, because it means that we can really tag team. She did a sort of 1-page, maybe it's 2-page explainer on what's going on with everything right now. And also the American Rescue Plan and how it's changing things. I have a PDF version of it. I think we can, Allie can't find it on her. Oh, she can. I think she said she did find it on her website. So she's going to put it here. Basically, it's a combination of really bad tech and changes to the program. So if you have a problem with your unemployment benefits right now, there could be like 4 different reasons that's the case. And that's a problem. So I'll say this: if you're having a problem, we want to help you. The most number of open cases we have in my office right now are about unemployment benefits. And I'm really proud of my team because they're like cranking on as many cases as possible. They closed like 75 cases last month and 1,000 last year. And I'm really proud of that work. And those UI cases are really dragging down our stats, let me tell you. So we want to get them fixed for lots of reasons, mainly because it impacts your lives, but also because we're really trying to serve people and we want to feel good about, the way we help them. So Allie will post that if she can, but know that she can't find it. But okay, we'll send the PDF to you, commissioners, and then you can share it however you like. It's a working document. She's going to keep updating it. So, and she's a maniac on social. So she'll respond. Councilmember Silverman will respond if you're tweeting at her about this stuff too. Yeah, I'm sorry for everybody who's dealing with this. Good news is there's more money coming. The bad news is that DC can't quite figure out how to get it to your bank accounts in time. So we're going to keep pushing them to do a better job.
I would say my issue is like, it's great that we have such responsive legislators, but where's the executive on this? I want to see DOES. And I want to see them saying, reach out to us on Twitter. And they do sometimes. I don't know. Thank you for doing your job. I know we have budget hearings in the future. So I don't know if it's like give them more money, give them less money. I don't know. But whatever is happening.
It's probably give them more, but keep an eye on them. And then, do you know what that made me think of? I'm so sorry. I know you have a whole agenda tonight, but you guys are really good partners. And I want to make sure you have all the information. $200 million is now with us for emergency rental assistance. We're going to be able to give up to 13 months of rental assistance to folks who qualify by income level. And there's a whole new application that's being rolled out that I got to demo on Friday. It's being rolled out in the next week or so, and landlords and residents will be able to apply. So we need to get everybody's back rent paid before the public health emergency ends. before the eviction moratorium ends, which ends a couple months after the public emergency.
That's a big deal. Is there, where could we go to read more about that and distribute that?
Coronavirus.dc.gov/rent. It's not posted yet because, so you can go there to read all the old programs, but they haven't posted the new one yet. So we'll
Right. Yeah. I did see some of the older programs that were, they were less generously funded. They're still great programs, but less generously funded.
Correct. And the local funds, I mean, I've added funding every year to our local emergency rental assistance program. It's never enough before COVID. So we know it's not enough now. I mean, it's like 10 million to the federal government's 200 million. So we're going to have to keep pushing on that. I mean, this is going to reverberate for a long time. So hopefully President Biden and this Congress will keep with us and keep sending us money. But we also need to be focused on what we're going to do when the federal funds are gone. And we are.
Right. Yeah, we sure are. And great work with oversight of DHS. We really appreciate that. Yeah. Hopefully there's more HUD dollars coming.
Yeah, actually, there are.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, we need to get that to everybody who needs it and qualifies for it, not just have this gigantic wait list. But anyways.
Correct.
Other questions for our council member?
Like, can we move on, please?
Okay. I don't see any other hands up.
Not a question, but just council member, thank you for your support and for your team's support of Safe Streets through our neighborhood and through adjoining neighborhoods. It's really appreciated when we pass a resolution in this ANC and then see support for it in your proposed budget. So thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for your partnership.
Great. And exciting stuff to look forward to with the farmers market in Unity Park, and hopefully at some point in the middle of 18th Street in the pedestrian zone.
Yay.
All right. Thank you, council member.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night. Have a great meeting.
Good night. So we also have Traverse Culpepper joining us to give an update on the Capital Grid project and the ongoing work, more importantly, the ongoing work at the Champlain Street substation, Pepco substation. So Traverse, I did see him join. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right.
Hello, this is Traverse. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we sure can. Thank you for joining, Traverse. Please go ahead. We can all hear you.
No, thank you very much for having me. And thank you all to all of the commissioners as well. Good evening to all of the participants on the call. My name is Traverse Culpepper with Pepco. And I wanted to also let you all know that I am joined by a few of my colleagues, Mr. Tim Bew, as well as Mr. Verone Hatley, who should be on the line if it's possible. Could we unmute them as well? What I wanted to do today, and I do have a presentation as well. I wanted to provide a brief overview of the work that was actually taking place just recently in Adams Morgan. I'm just sharing with you where we are with that, and then provide an overview and update of the Capital Grid project. And not sure if everyone can see my screen.
Yes, we sure can.
Okay. Thank you very much. And again, thank you all very much for allowing Pepco to participate. And I think I'm going to actually, if it's all right, turn it over to, I think, Tim Bew, who's going to just give a brief overview of the rubber lead cable project that has just concluded in the Adams Morgan area. And then we'll move on to the update on the Capital Grid project.
That's great. Tim, you should, you've been promoted to panelist, so you should have those rights.
All right, good deal. Thank you. All right, hey, Tim Bew here. Let me do a quick check on video. Yeah, all right. Hey, thanks so much, commissioners and the community, for letting us speak this evening. The main news that I wanted to share with you is the good news that our contractor has completed their work in the Adams Morgan area. We've got this 10-year project that's going on, but the good news is that in this Lanier Heights, Adams Morgan area, on Summit Place Northwest, Columbia Road, Ontario Place, Lanier Place Northwest, that we've completed our work on those streets for the civil construction, which has to do with the conduit and manhole upgrades to help bring new reliable power to your area. Let's take a look at that next slide. So what we can expect now, moving into the next phase, is that I will either contract out or work with our internal PEPCO crews to come bring in the new power cable. So it's cool, but it means that we'll need to have access to some of the manholes while the power cable is being installed. But it's nothing like the invasiveness of the civil construction. In the civil construction phase, they've got to dig up the streets or the sidewalks, install new conduit underground, install new manholes underground, and all of that work is done. Now, we just need to schedule bringing in the new power cable and pulling it between the manholes. They'll go section by section. Once I get that contract finalized, then we can come back to you, the community, and tell you just the months that they're going to be doing their work. And of course, they're obligated to put up no parking signs ahead of time. This image here shows you kind of what it'll look like when the trucks come along and the workers come along, access a manhole, and then pull the cable. So that's what I wanted to let you know about. I think that it's in the May through October timeframe, just a few days at a time, that the cable will be pulled. So it's not like they're going and pulling cable massively during all of that time. But during that time, a few manholes at a time, a few days at a time, we'll install the cable. When the cable is being installed and then connected to the neighbors, the specific residents, then each resident will experience 1 or 2 brief power outages where they're basically taking like the service cable out of the house, connecting it to the new power cable. And so customer by customer, they'll experience 1 or 2 brief outages. And that's the main thing that I wanted to share. Back to you, Trevorris.
No, thank you very much, Tim. And thank you all in the community for your patience in working with us as we complete a lot of that work in Adams Morgan. I know it was impactful because of the manholes that we had to construct in the street and on the sidewalk. So much appreciated. But wanted to move forward and talk about the Capital Grid project and give you an update on that. As many of you all do know, the Capital Grid project is a very impactful project. It's one of our largest projects that we've embarked on to date. It does involve us upgrading 2 substations in the district, as well as building an additional substation as well. And then we also will are currently building a 10-mile transmission line through the city. And you probably have seen some of the work take place on 16th Street and Florida Avenue near Meridian Hill Park. So that is part of the Capital Grid project. And in your neighborhood, one of the most important things that we'll be doing as part of this project is upgrading the Champlain substation. Right now, it has been, of course, as you know, been operating since 1930s, but we do have a need to upgrade the substation to provide more reliable service to residents and make sure that the equipment on the inside of the substation is equipped to handle the needs of residents in the future. Again, here is the 10-mile transmission line, a part of this project that we have. And we are actually, again, as I stated before, working in certain areas to install this transmission line. Part of what we'll be doing with the substation is upgrading the substation and enclosing all of the equipment on the inside that you see that you currently see. It will be on the inside, so we'll have an upgraded side, and it will be expanded as well with a green wall and then also solar panels on the top. Part of the project construction schedule does involve us completing the transmission line construction by the end of 2023. There is a portion of the transmission construction that does need to take place that will extend to the actual substation. So it will be additional construction that you will see going on Florida Avenue all the way to Ontario Street and then up Ontario Street to the substation. And this construction will be on the east and westbound of Florida Avenue. We do expect that this construction will take place sometime next year. We don't have at this point in time the exact date, but we do know that sometime next year there will be construction that will need to take place. We're currently evaluating that right now, but we will share with you in advance when that construction will take place. As far as the Champlain substation, we do expect for that construction to begin in year 2023. So it is a few years out, but we've been, of course, talking with you over the course of several years, letting you know that this was coming because it is impactful. But it will be over the course of a few years that will be in construction. So it's 2023 to 2026. So there will be, we don't have a contract at this time. Of course, the work is taking place in the future years, but there will be a lot of activity on the site, potentially a crane that will be needed to load equipment off the site and load it into the site. You will see a lot of heavy a lot of heavy presence as far as with trucks transporting materials and equipment on the site as well. So that is just to prime you that is what's taking place. Currently at this time, we're upgrading the Harvard substation, and that is the activity that's taking place at that substation as well. But it is for a greater purpose and need, and to make sure that our system is updated to accommodate the growth and to handle all of the activity and new residents that are taking place that are actually moving to the district. So, just like everyone, including, DC Water, and also other utilities, and then even some of our public goods like our schools and libraries, everybody's getting ready for this expansive growth in the district. So, this project is very forward looking, and again, is meant to, purpose to meet the needs of customers for in the future. So that is in a nutshell what is actually taking place. And I wanted to first and foremost thank Commissioner Clem for, working with us. We did have some residents come out a couple of weeks ago to talk about, to give an update on what is actually taking place with the substation. And we gave a pretty good walk down on what will actually remain as part of the substation. And what we shared during that time was that the face of the substation, which you see here, is nominated historic. So that is, as you can see from the renderings, will remain, and we'll have two of the buttresses from the exterior remain, but the substation will be mostly demolished, with just saving that front portion and those two buttresses, and then we will be, enclosing everything on the inside. And last but not least, this is, of course, as you know, not the only and last time that you will hear from us. Our outreach and engagement is ongoing. So we do have a dedicated website, phone number, and email for this project. And what actually will take place is that once we start, or prior to starting construction, we would like to engage the community to establish a community advisory group to enhance our engagement in this area. And so we will want to work with the ANC to come up with some, and we would definitely like to have ANC members participate if possible, if you're willing, but definitely want to get your feedback on any residents who are interested in serving as a community advisory group member to this substation construction. And basically what that community advisory group will do is best guide PEPCO and its contractor on the construction activity. We will have at least 4 meetings per year with the contractor where you receive regular updates on the construction of the substation. And then we look to get feedback from you on what the community sentiments are regarding the project, anything that can enhance, really be that enhanced engagement and feedback, and to the community, disseminating information and getting that feedback, and where we can make adjustments based on your feedback, we will. But it definitely is a added enhancement to the engagement, and definitely want to work with the ANC on seeing what interest that the community has in serving. But we do have a website, email address, and there's also an interactive map as well, which does detail the progress of the project, as well as share the meetings that we have as well. So there'll be a lot of PEPCO hosted meetings you'll see, as well as us coming regularly before the ANC meeting, also civic associations as well. So that's what we have to share at this time, and happy to take any questions from the audience or ANC members. Commissioners, excuse me. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Trevoris. Commissioners, do you have Commissioner Gold? Go right ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for this presentation. I actually want to go back to the Linear Heights work. On earlier this week, I was very disappointed to find essentially a canyon in the middle of Columbia Road, and was very pleased this afternoon when I came home to see that nicely paved. So I'm glad to hear that that work is complete. As I have the opportunity to go around my SMD, I know in September, Trevoris, you said that you guys will leave this area better than you found it, or at least as good. So if I see problems with sort of the cover overs, should I reach out to you, Trevoris, or who should I reach out to about that?
Yes, Commissioner Gold, definitely reach out to me if there are any issues that you have. And I work with Tim Bew. He's the project manager for this project. So he definitely works with the contract, and we'll look to get those issues resolved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gold, for the question. Other commissioners or members of the public, if you're dialing in by phone.
Yes, hi, Chair.
Yeah.
I just wanted to thank Trevoris for and Tim for giving a community update, and thank you for your time. And would you be able to share this slide presentation with us, or email it to me and I can post it, please?
Yes, ma'am, I can definitely do that.
Thank you, Trevoris.
No, thank you.
Great, thank you. Kristen, go right ahead.
Hi, Trevoris, how are you?
Hi, Kristen, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you. So I know that PEPCO was out working on the outlets in Unity Park today, but I don't know the end result and what they were able to accomplish. Have you been briefed on that yet?
I have not at this point in time. I know that there was some, I did send that information on to the one of our team members. I can follow back up. I don't have any information at this time, but I can follow back up with you.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
No, thank you very much.
Okay. If there are no other questions, thank you, Trevoris, for joining us again at our meeting and for giving this presentation.
No, thank you very much for just being a partner and working with us as we complete a lot of projects in your neighborhood, but this won't be the last time you hear from us. So thank you very much for allowing us to speak before you.
All right, we appreciate it. We'll see you around. Thanks.
Yes, we'll see you around. Thank you.
Great. Okay. So moving on to public announcements. Please limit the time, and so that it's already 8 o'clock. We're about an hour and 10 minutes into the meeting. So please be mindful of your neighbors and others on the call by not monopolizing your time. So we'll start with Kristen at the top.
Great, thank you. So I have a number of announcements from the bid. And I think the council member has left the call, but if Allie is still on, thank them for working with the farmers market and with us to help them move to Unity Park. It's not ideal, but it will work for this next season, I think. And eventually, when we're able to close 18th Street on the weekends for a pedestrian zone, the farmers market could move there and could expand. So we're enthusiastic about that possibility. So the bid is doing a number of things this spring that I wanted to tell folks about. I think you've all probably seen the cherry blossom sculpture that's in BB&T Plaza, thanks to the Cherry Blossom Festival that will be there until early May. And it's really a lot of fun, and the artists were really thrilled to be able to put it in Adams Morgan. One of them lives just outside the neighborhood, and she comes by all the time, so to keep an eye on it. And so that's so that's been really fun, and it's getting a lot of social media attention. And there's 26 of these around the city, and I know some people are actually trying to find them all. So that's bringing new people to the neighborhood as well. And that's, exactly what we need right now is more foot traffic for the businesses especially. So we are launching on Monday, April 12th, Adams Morgan Art Walk. The website is admodc.org/artwalk. And there are 13 businesses that have partnered with us and with DC Art Center to host art in their windows. Each business has a different artist, and the art is also available for sale. And again, this is another way to get out and explore the neighborhood, and we're hoping to bring in people from the greater DMV to check this out as well. And we've also included a walking tour of all of the murals in Adams Morgan. We have probably a dozen different murals, and also reminding people about the Heritage Trail. The Heritage Trail is it's been around since before I was director of the bid. Jim Graham put it in place, I think, when Anthony Williams was the mayor. So, but it's still, very relevant, and I think people sometimes forget that it's there. So, and then Embrace Yoga, which is on Columbia Road, they're going to be doing some outdoor yoga classes in BB&T Bank Plaza, starting, I think, next Wednesday. They're Wednesday and Saturday classes. And you can sign up for those on the Embrace Yoga DC website. And there is a small fee to participate in those outdoor yoga classes, but we're trying to encourage more of our fitness providers to do more outdoor classes. So we're really excited about that. And Bike to Work Day is coming up on May 21st, and we are hosting a pit stop again in Unity Park. It'll be that Friday the 21st from 7:30 a.m. to I think 11 or 11:30 a.m. Because of COVID restrictions, they are having people sign up with pretty limited numbers in each half-an-hour block. So we're hoping to get some donated food and beverages that will be pre-wrapped so that that can be easily passed out, and people will be able to pick up their free t-shirt if they register ahead of time. But to keep people moving, there aren't going to be a lot of other, things to do, like get your bike looked at by City Bikes and those kinds of other activities. Unfortunately, it's just not allowed right now. But I'm coming also to ask if anybody is interested in volunteering to help us with setup and with people movement that morning. We need 3 or 4 additional volunteers to help out. So it's just a one-time a commitment that Friday morning. So if anybody is interested in volunteering, please email or call me. I'll put my info in the chat. Like I said, we just need 3 or 4 people to help out. And we're also going to be working.
That's Friday, May 21st. Sorry,
yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah. And also we're working on doing a book festival with Turning the Page that will also incorporate Lost City Books and Potter's House for probably late May on a Sunday that would also be in BB&T Bank Plaza. So stay tuned for more details about that. And we're also working with the Line Hotel to bring their drag story hour outside to Unity Park on Saturday noontime, like they had, in the community center, pre-COVID. So more to come on that, but we're hoping to get that going a couple Saturdays this spring and summer. So that's a little bit of our updates. Movie nights, I know people have been asking me, are we going to be able to do movie nights outdoors at the Marie Reed soccer field? We are hopeful that we're still going to be able to do them, and probably not in May, but maybe June or July. I think the mayor is now allowing outdoor events for up to 250 people and more with a waiver. So we talked this morning with our marketing committee, and I think they are interested in us doing it. So stay tuned for more information about that, because we may indeed have to apply for a waiver to have more than 250 people on the field, which is, more than reasonable. It's a big field and people can spread out and be socially distant in an appropriate way. So yeah, so movie nights is not completely canned. We're still working on it, and stay tuned for more details on that. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Kristen. Commissioners, any questions? Okay. Thanks for those community-wide updates. Very helpful.
Yep, sure.
Nick, please, go right ahead.
Hello, this is Nick with the Recook Neighborhood Association. I just wanted to also reiterate what Commissioner Wood said. Thank you everyone who came out to the Adams Morgan cleanup on March 20th. And then to reiterate what Kristen said, there are 26 of those cherry blossom art sculptures, and one of them was made by a local Adams Morgan artist, the Corinto Gallery. You do have to travel all the way down to the National Shore to see it, but it's definitely worth the bike ride down there. And one last thing, RCNA, DPR, and the city has entered into agreement for RCNA to adopt Unity Park. We look forward to the continued activation of the space through the bid, the line, and other community partners, as well as bringing the vendors back to the space. And we look forward to working with more people to activate the space and beautify the space. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Nick. KJ, go right ahead.
Hey, thank you. First, I would like to ask the chair for a public apology for censoring me last week. I didn't use my 10 minutes, and you wouldn't have been able to mute me if we were in a public forum. So government is supposed to be transparent. I should be able to, say things that, sometimes are controversial, but if we were in a public forum, I wouldn't have been muted that way. So I would appreciate an apology if that's possible. My comment is based on, there was a public hearing that took place on April 1st where this ANC took an adverse position against a business. I would like to see how to get the settlement process in general on the agenda. I think it should be a more transparent process. I think the way that the settlement process happens, the ABRA settlement agreements, there's so much kind of secrecy and that happens that there's, it's inequitable as it stands. So I would like to see this ANC take a position to make that process a little more equitable, much more transparent, so that it involves community participants that possibly support different businesses and different themes and programming, and not just lend, or skew toward the folk who complain about certain businesses. So I like, one thing that came about through this whole process was the ANC took positions that, quite frankly, the entire ANC wasn't necessarily privy to. So I just like to see the process of settlement agreements for different ABRA locations come out of the shadows and be something that the community could take a part in along the way, and make sure that the steps are being followed and all of the rules are being followed, so that what happened to me doesn't happen to another business owner. So if another commissioner would like to put this on the agenda so that the public can discuss and have a seat at the table, as this board represents the public. So when this board doesn't represent the public and they represent their own selves, then I think that that's not what the purpose of this for is.
So thank you, KJ, for bringing that up. The appropriate forum for this would be the ABC and Public Safety Committee. So if you want to email the committee members, which are myself, Commissioner Bowles, and Commissioner Clem, then we can agendize it there. Any other public announcements?
I do not see any.
Very good. Okay, moving to the consent agenda. The only item on our agenda is to approve the minutes from the March 21 meeting. So if there's no discussion, no hands raised, all those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? All right. That passes. So moving to our regular agenda. Thank you all for braving that a few good updates. So we have an item from that committee. I don't think it was voted on. So this is a resolution in support of a tree planting plan that was put forward by Urban Forestry Division in March of 2020. And after a few months of debate and some iterations at ANC committee and at the full ANC, the ANC in 2020 passed something that passed a plan that was different than what DDOT's Urban Forestry Division had initially put together. But approximately maybe 4 or 5 months after that, DDOT came back to us after those iterations saying that, well, hey, actually that plan won't work for BB&T Plaza. The tree planting plan will not work for there. So I move that we consider this resolution. Did not come out of committee with an affirmative vote. So I'll need a second.
I second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Gold. Commissioner Gold, you authored the resolution. Would you like to lead discussion?
Sure. Thank you, Chair. So the PZT committee discussed this matter, and there was no resolution on the table. And that's the reason that there was no endorsement of the current resolution before us, is that we discussed the matter. In discussions, we were in favor, but we didn't have any document on the table. However, this DDOT plan for a tree canopy to provide shade at this plaza is not new. As the chair said, it was first shared in March of 2020 and discussed at public ANC meetings last summer. The community may recall that the plan by a community member was put together, and I think that there was simply a challenge that we have in that the DDOT Urban Forestry has very specific guidelines that we do that we don't share, and so we could do another design and then go to them and get rejected as unfeasible again, and do another design and get rejected again. We are currently in planting season, and this is a very hot corner of public space that does need shade. The plan we are reconsidering tonight would provide that much needed shade on the plaza by trees that would be tall enough for folks to walk under or sit under the shade canopy. This plan does disrupt the ability to use the plaza for open events like a farmer's market. But as we've heard a couple times tonight, this plaza is not suitable for and will not be used for the farmer's market anyway. This plan also includes the relocation of a bike share station to the Columbia Road curb, which will allow for a much needed increase on the station size. And therefore, I recommend that we adopt this resolution tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Gold. Before I ask for questions from members of the public, are there questions from other commissioners?
Yeah, Commissioner Gold, the one question I had is kind of with the thought that there is probably a high probability that there may be some redevelopment in this area. If this plan, if implemented, would be affected if, say, a building is put up, or is that part of kind of we're putting them in places where we think that they'll be least affected if there is development in that area?
That's a great question, Commissioner Boots. This corner is the largest and only corner of public space in the heart of Adams Morgan, at the intersection of 18th and Columbia Road. As it is on public space, it will not be developed. I know as well, sorry, not to put Commissioner Wood on the spot, but I know he had some recommendations for the resolution, so I want to make sure that he has that opportunity. Thank you.
I'm good. I was nitpicking. But I mean, I think in any case, I think it's pretty widely accepted that whether it's documented or not, that we want to serve the community, not just by adding actual vegetation, but also that the vegetation has like secondary and tertiary effects. So whether that's written or not, it's fine.
Okay, so there's no amendment offered. Okay. Commissioner Bowles.
Yeah, thank you so much, Commissioner Ronnie, as well as Commissioner Gold on this. I'm very much excited about this. It's something that I ran on. It's something that residents have been asking for. I do still think we could do programming here with trees in the way. I'm not super concerned about that. But ultimately, it's just a really sunny, hot spot and completely unusable. So I'm glad that we're following up and getting these plans, at least a bare minimum. I think that we definitely have an option to move further from here, but for now, let's just get some shade. So thank you for moving this forward. I did want to propose an amendment to add a line at the end, which essentially designates Chairman Arani as well as Commissioner Gold as the representatives on this matter for DC Gov. And or if Zach, if you did not want to be the designate, since it is my single member district, I feel comfortable doing that as well. But since you're sponsoring it and the PCT chair, I thought it would be right for you to do so.
That sounds like a smart amendment to me, and I will add that in, assuming that Chair Arani is interested in maintaining that communication. I know certainly other members of this commission have been very keen to communicate with DDOT, including Commissioner Serrano, which I really appreciate as well.
Okay, so that amendment's fine. Usually it's and taken as a friendly, apparently. Usually it is the chair of the commission, the chair of the committee, or the SMD commissioner and or the SMD commissioner that lead point on matters with DC government. So will you be writing that into the resolution?
Yes, I'm drafting it right. Thank you for the clarification, Chair, on how that usually works. This is only one of my first resolutions, so I appreciate designating a point. Thank you, Commissioner Bowles, for that recommendation. I will add this in now.
And one of the things, just to add more context there, one of the reasons we do that is because by adding a designee into the resolution specifically, then if that person is unable, for whatever reason, to interact with an agency or board or government official, DC Gov official, then we would have to come in and modify the resolution, which can only happen once a month. So it kind of put the process to a standstill. So that's the reason why that has been more informal in the past. But thank you for the friendly amendment, gladly accepted. Other hands raised. If you're dialing in, please dial *9 to raise your hand if you're dialing in via Zoom. Members of the public. There was some questions that had come to our attention both previously in the first go around and more recently, maybe about 15 minutes before the meeting tonight, from abutting property owners. Commissioner Gold, did you have a chance to take a look at the basic feedback there?
Yes, I think I don't want to speak entirely for the commenters, but there has been, I think the most reasonable concern I saw was that there is better activation of this space possible. This resolution references the Adams-Morgan Vision Framework, which this body might recall envisions lights and a shade canopy and chairs and all those sorts of things at this plaza. And I've heard from business owners and property owners that is reasonable and that's desired. I've heard from residents that those sorts of changes would be desired. I think that the point is here that this is this resolution is limited because it's based on engagement that the bid had with DDOT's Urban Forestry Division. So Urban Forestry Division doesn't do the lights and doesn't do other sorts of structures. I think that we certainly can and perhaps should have a wider discussion on what should be done at that plaza, including, frankly, what to name that plaza or for whom to name the plaza. And that's certainly something that can move forward. And I don't think that a handful of trees that are creating shade in the middle of the plaza will disrupt those sorts of plans.
Great. Yeah, that is the visibility is something that has come up, and understanding that they can be addressed separately, I think is important for us to move forward with some kind of planting. Commissioner Faulkner, I see that you have your hand raised. Go right ahead.
Yes, I was just going to clarify that my understanding is that while there is funding for the tree planting, there isn't available funding at the moment for more additional things. And the feedback I have gotten from a lot of folks is that they would like just something to be done there. And I think right now, I think all of us would probably love additional, many additional things potentially at that corner for the community. But right now the tree planting is sort of what there is available funding for.
Great. Yeah. That is the message we have heard from DDOT as well. So any other questions, members of the public? And given that this had quite a bit of discussion last year, and knowing that this resolution didn't come from committee, but that it had so many months of discussion last year, this particular tree plan, I feel comfortable passing this now. So if there's no other discussion, I'll call to a vote. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Any abstentions? All right. Thank you for that, Commissioner Gold. And a unanimous vote is always nice. So moving to the handful of items that we have on the Public Services and the Environment Committee agenda. We have a grant application that was submitted by Momentum Health. This did come out of committee with an affirmative vote, so it does not need a second. I move that we consider the grant application submitted by Momentum Health. Commissioner Carano, would you like to lead the discussion there? And I believe the applicant is on, but please introduce the issue.
Yep, thanks, Chair. Yes, so this application from Momentum Health is a request for $4,000 from the ANC in support of 2 initiatives that they have underway. The first is a project called Healthy Brothers that provides mental health support to queer and unhoused youth, including youth in Adams Morgan. And the second is the an emergency meals program, which provides emergency meals on a weekly basis to 25 unhoused Adams Morgan residents. And so this grant would cover meals through the end of September, I believe, and Healthy Brothers through the next several months. I think this is I know Momentum Health is a new nonprofit to our community. And I know that this is this grant is also, we shared this with the Office of ANC, and this was well received. They liked the proposal. The proposal is allowed under the current public health emergency. And they complimented the fact that this grant is looking to also try to evaluate its impact. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to consider supporting a new organization in our neighborhood. And with that, I'd actually like to invite Sammy to share a bit more about the grant and maybe focusing on your planned impact for this and the value that your programs have had so far to the residents you're serving here.
Yes, can you hear me okay? Perfect.
Yes,
my name is Sammy Nesbitt. I am the CEO of Momentum Health. We're a growing nonprofit that really got started because we were tired of seeing the same problems with queer youth of color and the problems that they face. I'm a trained epidemiologist from Texas, considered oil field trash. I came here to DC to really kind of build our organization and the impact that we can make. And we've been successful at that. I'm really proud of the team members that work alongside me every day to build a strong organization. Even yesterday, we had one of our cooks go out and help us feed our homeless neighbors. We do feed neighbors on a bi-weekly basis. Sometimes it's a little bit more infrequent lately because of funding, but we're thankful for the ANC for supporting our efforts to feed our neighbors.
And could you share a little more about the Healthy Brothers program too? Because that's
yes. So our Healthy Brothers program started at the beginning of the pandemic. We got a small grant fund from the University of Texas at Austin, which is my university. And we essentially rolled out a program to combat social isolation in youth of color during the pandemic. A lot of youth who are HIV positive had a gap in services. And so we created the Healthy Brothers program to really kind of meet the need of mental health services and group support services. And we work closely with Dr. Marlon Johnson and other licensed therapists to provide this delivery to our client community, our youth, essentially.
Thank you, Sammy. A question about the Healthy Brothers program. So thank you first for the noble work you're doing in the community, and I have a couple questions around the locations, and one thing about the Healthy Brothers program I think would be good to ask right now is as I was looking up the Healthy Brothers program online, and what I noticed is on GuideStar, and maybe this is just needs to be updated, but it said that it serves youth in rural communities with limited access. That probably needs to be updated. You want to?
No, so we do get robust funding. That was the seed money that we received from the University of Texas to kind of investigate rural youth. Particularly, that was our focus. But we do a catch-all system for all of our youth that come into our programs. We make sure that we house our youth in the correct program that they're supposed to be in. And so Healthy Brothers is our hallmark program that we've built.
And it's for, it doesn't discriminate. It works in Adams Morgan, rural, urban communities.
Right.
Right. It's more about the limited access to the culturally competent healthcare, nutrition resources, right?
Yes, sir.
And the other thing I noticed, you guys are in quite a few locations, but Texas, a few cities there, Mississippi, Louisiana, and glad to have you in DC. When did you come to DC?
We came at the beginning of the pandemic. We actually piloted our cloud kitchen operations in our virtual food pantry. We started that at the beginning of the pandemic because we understood the consequences of when people are shut in and without jobs. And a lot of our youth had to face a lot of things during the pandemic, such as, some of which were in sexual economics, some which were in addictions. A lot of the participants that we feed on a weekly basis and sometimes bi-weekly basis, those participants have addictions that they're not going to get into housing because we have guys that sit in front of 7-Eleven and they sit hungry and ask for meals. And so we give out meals during those particular high times so that way they can have something to eat and not beg people for money. So we fulfill a need for not only just our community here in DC, but we also fulfill a need for our queer youth of color because that's what we are as an organization.
Right. And we're grateful to have you in Adams Morgan. How did you get to Adams Morgan specifically? What brought you to Adams Morgan in DC? Was there a data point that you were looking at in particular that you're meeting there?
No, we're just growing our operations here in Adams Morgan.
Well, lucky us. Thank you. And just one final question I have. How does Momentum Health identify recipients of the Emergency Meals Program?
So going forward, we actually have these cards here. We give out these cards to our youth participants particularly. We essentially have them download the Uber Eats app. We connect services. We also connect technology, which is the base of our organization. So they download the Uber Eats app, they scan this QR code on a particular day, and they get a free meal wherever they're standing. This is particularly for our youth who are battling homelessness. This is for a particular program, and that's what the funds from the ANC grant will be used for, is for this program. The homeless program that we currently house is funded by our Cloud Kitchen profits. So we typically don't use our mixed funds at all. Our overhead is paid for by our Cloud Kitchen profits. And so I'm confident that we'll be able to expand this program and we'll be able to identify more youth of color who are actually battling homelessness, because it is a silent problem. It is a problem that a lot of youth of color will not tell you about. It's also a problem in our community that a lot of our homeless neighbors really can't identify with people that come to them and give them services because they don't look like them. And so supporting organizations such as ours, which is what the ANC is doing, is really a great opportunity to invest into our community into the long term. And so that's why I'm very confident of this program, and also our Healthy Brothers program. It normalizes social behaviors and mental health in the queer community of color, especially for youth of color.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So you'll be handing us. Do you work with other organizations to identify?
Yes, and being that we are rather new, we try to build community everywhere that we stand. In every community that we go into, we are currently trying to work with other community organizations to expand our programming. But as you're aware, social distancing does take time. And so meeting people is a little bit hard right now, but we are a rather younger organization. So a lot of our roots are based in the South. And once upon a time, DC was considered the South. And so we definitely are trying to take over the world and also save save lives in the process.
Yeah. Thank you for those. So we have a couple hands up. Commissioner Gold, go right ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Sammy, for the work you're doing and for really the outreach. Unfortunately, this is needed in our community, and we appreciate having an organization like yours to do that. I guess I would pick up on the question that Chair Arani asked. You explained to us how those individuals who have been identified, receive food. I guess the question is, how are you and your organization identifying the recipients of these individual cards? Is this a matter of just going around the neighborhood and finding people who appear to be experiencing homeless? As residents of the area walk around, especially up and down Columbia Road, we are often confronted, as you noted, by individuals asking for money for food. How can we share with them details about getting in touch with you as that service? Thank you.
Well, this really comes down to just old-fashioned community work. So I go out myself, my staff goes out, my interns go out, even some of our board members. We go out into community and we feed people. That gives us the opportunity to build relationships with our homeless neighbors. And that also gives us the opportunity to kind of really see what's happening. We also have an in-house program called the FLIP program. So it's Food Leaders Innovation Program. It's essentially a work development program for youth of color who are battling homelessness or other problems within their life. We give them jobs, such as whether that's building IT programs such as Tribe, which is what we were funded for last year, or they work in the kitchen and learn and really cultivate their culinary skills. But they are also our voice as well. They tell us what's going on. We keep our ears to the ground and we're able to talk to our community and try to figure out what we can do to solve the problem of homelessness and hunger.
Thank you. Commissioner Gold, does that, any follow-up? Okay. Commissioner Wood, go right ahead.
All right, I'll be quick. I don't even have a question. Just because I've had the opportunity through the Public Services Environment Committee, and then also because you're working with my SMD, I've been very happy to get to meet Sammy. He's doing great work. Just kind of want to vouch, and then it just kind of reiterate a couple points. One, I'm through campaigning and also being ANC commissioner, I had a lot of people who are either eligible or potentially eligible for being participants of this, and it is an art to get them quote unquote into the system, and it's just great work to basically need elbow grease to get that to happen. And then also just kind of talking about the rural urban point, I do think it's important to have people that understand how those two worlds are often really interwoven. A lot of people go back and forth between the two in all kinds of ways. So very happy to see someone that knows all these things much better than I do and just to support it. So thanks for being here, Sammy.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question. We have another, Commissioner Carano, please.
Yeah, just a quick follow-up. I just want to make sure that we're clear on this point. So the Healthy Brothers program was first piloted. You did your first try at it in Texas, and now you're replicating it here. So this isn't something that you haven't done before. It had some success. You're looking to apply it in DC now. Is that right?
Correct. Being that our base operations are here in Adams Morgan, we do expand wherever we're located. We do have locations in Dallas and Houston, but being that Healthy Brothers is a virtual delivery, and we really try to meet our participants where they are, especially those participants here in Adams Morgan. We don't want to require them to do something that's uncomfortable. We want them to be more comfortable in their own setting so that way they can come to the group as themselves. We have learned these things from previous pilot projects that were funded. Healthy Brothers has been a 2-year project so far. Last year was our first year of getting successful funding. And so this grant would also continue the program and also kind of help us sustain while we're trying to figure out what our funding looks like. The pandemic really did destroy our donor base. And so we had to reinvent our organization to make it more viable as a nonprofit.
And could you share a little if you're currently applying for other grants or what your plans are for funding long-term, just so that we have a sense of if these services will be continued?
For funding long-term, we do have 2 grants that are in process. There's one with ViV Healthcare that is a $59,000 grant. Grants do take a very long time to procure. Sometimes they can take up to 6 months. And of course, a lot of people deal with problems during that time. And so we do try to reach out to our community to help our programs. We're also getting close to $60,000 from Gilead Sciences, and they are planning to fund this project as well as they funded the project in the past.
So just a question about I was just reading in the grant application that 25 community members would receive, the ANC funds will be used directly to feed 25 community members once weekly until October.
I'm sorry.
You define if
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question one more time?
Sure. So I was just reading in the grant application that it says ANC funds will be used directly to feed 25 community members once weekly until October 21. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
And will it be the same 25 community members, or is it going to be, some might be the same week over week, it might rotate in and out?
So it's contingent upon two things. One, we have base mills or whatever we kind of already have. We multiply that with whatever the funds that we have from the ANC. So I believe the ANC is providing us kind of a weekly amount that we've budgeted for. Mm-hmm. So essentially, we're going to be counting out to 25 mills, and then whatever we donate as well, that'll kind of add to the number. So it could be potentially 32 mills, it could be potentially 45 mills, but for sure we have 25 mills budgeted for our program.
Right. And then identifying the people that get it, is it going to be that, these say 20 people, you identify in the beginning, are they going to be receiving it all the way through October?
Yes, they will.
They will.
Yes,
okay. So as soon as you get in, right. Understood. Okay. Thanks for that clarification. For me, I was just thinking about it through the lens of how the broad public good, right, that's being done. So thank you for that clarification. Commissioner Bowles, go right ahead. See your hands up.
Yeah, thank you so much. So thank you so much, Mr. Nesbitt, for this. I'm really excited to continue to support this type of programming. I will say, I think right now, I'm at the abstention level, and for a few reasons. So background, my professional job is to also advocate for queer youth, particularly those experiencing homelessness. So like right there with you. My also previous experience as treasurer of the ANC, as well as the grants manager of the ANC, essentially, was that we have really, really rigid guidelines on getting things funded. And some of the things that stick out to me relate to like administrative costs or potentially overhead costs. And things that even though through the emergency language, such as like food or duplicative services or previous or paying for previous things that were purchased, I don't know if the emergency language authorizes administrative costs. So I would want to know more about that, and or if Celeste or Megan were able to get clarification on that point. Because otherwise, like I want obviously this type of programming to get funded, but the issue is that if OANC looks through the budget and says, you know, there's like $1,500 here, you know, where we couldn't fund, then that's essentially $1,500 that we couldn't use for another grant in the future for any other programming. So while I want this to matter, I also don't want it to take away from any potential givings for our other folks. So I guess that's more of a question to commissioners and or a comment. Sorry.
I think, thank you, Commissioner Bowles, for bringing that up. I think Commissioner Carano could speak to that because we had some information on that.
Yeah, so when I reached out to Gottlieb Simon, I called out specifically that we had questions about the inclusion of food and administrative expenses in this grant. His response was, I do not see anything in the application that would be in conflict with the current grant requirements. We're not in normal times. We are still in a state of health emergency. And he noted, I know positively that the applicant intends to evaluate various aspects of their program. So he didn't, you know, we asked specifically about it, and he said it was okay to go forward. You have more experience working with Gottlieb than I do. If you think it's worth following up again, we could always.
No, I feel like you have that email, Commissioner Faulkner. She has that email that this stuff is covered. So I would just, when we do approve this and we go through our finance, they do any type of crazy, be like, this is authorized spending. We already had to do that once. So, okay, cool.
Great,
and then my only other question is, it seems like there's a cohort of some sort that provides like wraparound services. Is that correct?
Yes, we have a team that handles something for everything here at Momentum Health. We work together to make every program possible. And so we do have cross cohorts within our organization, but we also have community cohorts, which is what the FLIP program essentially is.
So how many participants are a part of the FLIP program?
Right now we have, I think, 6 participants, if I'm not mistaken. We don't have very many participants because we're not a very large organization. We're very small in everything we do, and we're just trying to grow. And so I believe it's 6 participants, and by the end of next week, we'll be at 10 because of current recruitment efforts.
Okay, so and you're asking for it would be $8 for each one of those participants for Microsoft Teams platform, and then $75 per hour for mental health practitioners for those going that are part of that cohort as well.
Yes, and that would be stretched out over 6 months. Essentially, we have a process for our mental health practitioners. as well as any participants and how they are participating in programs. And so, yes, so that will be stretched out over 6 months.
Well, I do like that you're paying your interns. I will say it seems like your mental health practitioner is getting a little underpaid here. So we definitely might want to look at that in the future.
Yes, yes. Our mental health practitioner is providing us students as well. So that's why he discounted his price, because some of his students are going to be helping out on emergency situations, because we understand that we can't necessarily have a group and then expect everyone to just be okay. We want to make sure that we have an emergency hotline for our participants as well. And that's what the students are going to be practicing. That's why the rate's a little bit cheaper.
Great. And then the only other thing, I know I had difficulties in terms of making sure I was reporting all of the receipts. There is a reporting requirement for all of our grants. I would just, because there's a lot of different line items on the budget, there might be some difficulties there. So good luck, Celeste, and or good luck, Commissioner Carano and Commissioner Faulkner. With this applicant, I'm sure we can get it across the finish line.
And internally, we also have steps as well to make sure that all of our receipts are accounted for as an organization. And so just to assure the ANC that we have been through this process before, and we can assure that every dollar will be accounted for.
That's great. Good to hear. Then one thing to consider is just and I don't think the overhead or administrative costs approach this number, but we're limited in any grants. Those should be limited to a maximum of 15% of the grant amount. I think in this case, that's $600, which Microsoft Teams is not going to meet that. So Commissioner Gold, go right ahead.
Thank you. I just had a quick point of information. As we were discussing, whether or not various points would be approved by OANC, and I guess aren't all of our grants contingent on approval, or how does that process work? Do we give out money that then we later learn that we couldn't have given out?
So I'll just provide some quick light on that. I mean, we as an organization can give out money that later, this is why we're so diligent and thorough prior to approving a grant in our communications and going through the application and in our communications with OANC, so that we know in advance that it'll be approved by them, so that we do get reimbursed for the grant, because there could be a possibility that we pass something, we give out the money, then later we found out that, hey, there was a serious issue with it and we don't get reimbursed for that, which basically means that the OANC would ding us for that in our next allotment, which is very significant. So yeah, that's, and Sammy, so I hope that also provides some light into our process.
Absolutely.
Okay. Other questions from commissioners or members of the public? All right. Well, thank you very much, Sammy. I'll just quickly call to a vote. All those in favor of the
Second motion.
Sorry?
Never mind. I forgot that this came through committee and I thought that it needed a second.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. Came through committee, so no second needed. All those in favor of the grants application, please say aye.
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 Any against? Any abstentions? All right. Thanks, Sammy, for attending and for answering our questions, and also thank you in advance for working with us and Commissioner Faulkner, Treasurer Faulkner, and Commissioner Carano on the reporting requirements as those come up.
Absolutely. I look forward to being a part of the ANC for a very long time, and very thankful for just the opportunity to showcase the great work that my organization does for our community. And thank you again.
Yeah, we love that you're doing the snowball work in Adams Morgan. So thanks. Okay, so the next item on our agenda, the Marie Reed Parent-Teacher Organization / Footprints. This was a grant application that came out of committee. I'm not sure if this is going to be considered. Commissioner Carano, do you move to consider this or table it? Sounds like you're.
Yeah, I'm going to move to table, and we will make sure we get total clarity, just as we did for Momentum Health with OANC before, hopefully next month.
Great. I second that. So all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any against? Any abstentions? Okay. And next item on the agenda, Marie Reed Community Support Fund. Commissioner Carano, any preliminary matters?
Similarly, we've moved to table it, same reasons, just wanting to get full clarity before we vote.
Thank you. So I second that. All those in favor of tabling the matter, please say aye.
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 Any against? Any abstentions? All right. And lastly, and this goes to show, that we are thoroughly vetting these matters. So, when we push them, it's because they haven't been thoroughly vetted yet. So the Fund for Kalorama Park, preliminary matters, Commissioner Carano?
Yeah, motioning to table, actually, they're potentially withdrawing the application for the time being, so we will reconsider in the future.
Thank you. I second. So all those in favor of tabling that grant application, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Any abstentions? All right. A night of unanimous votes and great updates. So that concludes the meeting. Thank you all for joining, and see you next week at